Hello, everybody. It is myself and Comics here with an indie interview for you today. This time we have a newcomer here, Dave Schwartz. Hello, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Doing great, Bianca. How are you?
I am doing awesome possum. Thanks for asking. Totally not having chicken troubles at all. And today we are looking at your Kickstarter called Confederate Monster.
That's right.
I see this is issues 1 through 4, but it's the only one on Kickstarter. So have you tried like another platform like Indiegogo for the others?
Right. So in 2021, I did an Indiegogo for issues 1 through 3, and it did pretty well. I was able to fulfill it, and honestly, it just became a thing where I didn't have the time to do it anymore. I actually did all 3 issues during COVID. So when I had to get back into working as a comic book artist full time, because that's my full time job, I just I didn't have the time to get back to this. So I felt bad, but I had to put it on the shelf in order to pay the bills. So but I recently have found the time. I've retooled some things in order to be able to work on this book again, and I've been working on it since last November. So it's taken me quite a long time to be able to do just a 20-page issue. But yeah, I'm back for issue number 4, and we got 2 more issues to go. It's a 6-issue series, so I'm really excited to keep doing it, and hopefully I can do the next one even faster. So we'll see.
So issues 1 through 4. It's not a trade paperback, right?
No, no. So basically, it's just you can purchase issues 1 through 4 if you like. There's a reward tier where you can do a catch-up bundle for digital and physical, so you can get all the past issues 1 through 4. Or including number 4, but then you also get issue 0. Issue 0 is like a prequel issue. It sort of bridges the gap between the original Frankenstein story and this story, which is actually set 8 years later.
Awesome. Is I had a brain fart. I apologize.
Okay.
How long are you planning on doing Confederate Monster for?
So, like I said, it took me quite a few months to be able to just do this 1 issue. But I have been able to get things done a little bit faster in the last couple of months. So I'm hopeful that I'll be able to get the next one done a little bit faster. Hopefully by the end of this year would be my hope. And then potentially this time next year, we could be wrapping up the series and doing a trade collection. So again, like I said, I'm hopeful that within a year's time, the story can be completed. It's just, man, being a full-time comic book artist is a lot of work. So
It is. You guys do a lot of hard work. Thank you for all your hard work for our
absolutely,
entertainment,
it's
by
my pleasure.
the way. All right. Am I allowed to play the trailer video on the
Oh,
Kickstarter?
yes, yes, by all means.
Yay! Before we start, hello, Random Dewdraws, hello, Reese, hello, Cartoons and Comics. Nice to have you guys here. All right, let's play the video. Oof.
Yeah! Where's my wife? Do you hear me? Dismount and walk forward.
Darling, you're home.
And waiting for you with loving arms.
Must you maul her like an animal, Daniel?
Calm yourself, Mrs. Stevenson. I'm just getting into character.
They both insisted upon hiring Daniel's patients to cater. I too thought it would look as unseemly as it does.
Is that all you discovered while befriending Mrs. Schmidt, my dear?
Dr. Schmidt fits the description of our target in nearly every way.
That was awesome.
Thank
I
you.
I didn't expect voice acting, to be honest, and my headphones were volume was a little bit too high.
It's okay. I kind of had some fun with it. I wanted to make something that was a little more cinematic, and I have fun doing voices and stuff. So
Oh, same. I'm aspiring to be somewhere in the line of voice acting.
right
It's
on.
super fun.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. And you have a $3,000 goal with only, well, 23% of his goal. We're almost there.
Yeah, we're
Nice.
getting there slowly but surely.
Hmm.
Yeah, little slow out the gate, but it's okay. I have confidence that over the next couple weeks we'll be able to get there.
Yeah, and I looked at the other Kickstarters that you've done, and they all made it past at least 100% or more in funding. So I was like, oh, so this will be a shoe in. 100% confidence.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so. I'm pretty confident.
Nice. All right, let's take a look down here. Boop, 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 boop. I love the profile picture, by the way. It's
Well,
very fun.
yeah, so in issue 4, we are heavily focused on the original monster that was reanimated from the original story. So again, this story takes place 8 years after the original Frankenstein story that we're all familiar with. And the main character is Igor, but he's disguised as another person named Dr. Daniel Schmidt. And Daniel is a reconstructive surgeon, just trying to hide out, lay low, and just live his life. And married this beautiful woman, and just trying to make sure no one finds out about his past. But the Confederacy finds out, and kidnaps him and forces him to reanimate their dead army. So we not only have that story, but then we're also pulling back in the traditional characters that we all know, like Victor Frankenstein, the original monster, and a version of the bride as well. So, like I said, in issue 4, we really focus heavily on the monster, as you can kind of see from the cover image there, which I'm really excited about because he didn't really show up until this issue, only in flashbacks. So I'm again super excited to get into him in the story.
Nice, nice. What made you want to do Frankenstein?
Oh man, I've always sort of had a thing for Frankenstein ever since I was a little kid. Um, Actually, it's funny. I was cleaning out some of my old stuff the other week, and I discovered that and reminded myself that one of my actually the first published work that I got into a magazine when I was 8 years old is I won a Frankenstein drawing contest in Monster magazine, the original Monster magazine. And my uncle Joe, he submitted it, and I won, I think, like second place for my age group. So they printed it in the magazine, and so I don't know. I guess it's fate in a way that I have some way of putting my own stamp on the character, because I honestly think that there can be more done with Frankenstein. We sort of tell the same story over and over, so that's why I was inspired to tell a different story.
Nice. That's so awesome. Congratulations on the contest, by the way.
Yeah. 8-year-old me is like, yeah.
At 8, it is super awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Oh gosh. I saw the top, but I never saw the bottom.
That was a nice reveal. Yeah, that was great.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, so the monster, he kind of goes through a lot of different emotional states throughout this issue, where we kind of get a sense of where he has been this whole time. Each issue we sort of delve into each character. In issue 2, we got to meet Victor, and then issue 3, we kind of got to meet the bride, and now in issue 4, we're really getting to understand where the monster has been and how he regained his mind, because when he was reanimated, he was quite insane. So it's kind of a fun little part of the story to explain.
Nice. I love that. And we already know what the story is about because you already said it. Oh, a masked villain, perhaps? Not
So,
masked. I mean, just it was bearded.
so it is set with the Confederacy as the villains.
Mhm.
And so, some of the main characters that I pull in from history are actual Confederate generals. So, the person that you're seeing there is General Nathan Bedford Forrest.
Mm.
Um, and he's sort of he's kind of like the avatar for the main villain throughout most of the story. But then I bring in another general in issue 5, which we'll see a little bit here actually in issue 4, which is really fun. But yeah, I really wanted to make sure that I stuck to at least some historically accurate details and facts, because obviously we're in the world of fiction, and with Frankenstein there's a lot of leeway. So I wanted to still ground it in history though. So
Mm. So technically historical fiction, yeah?
technically I would say, yeah.
And we love it. Oh, you have so much characters here, and it's very nice. Oh, it's very nicely drawn too. I
Thank
love
you.
the colors.
I just
You
really
didn't.
love drawing Victor. He's so much fun. When he's insane, he has this like giant mane of hair and beard. But then, when you see him in most of the story, he looks like that, kind of a little more clean cut, but he's got that wicked mustache and those wicked mutton chops. So
I love it. I love the different colors. I haven't seen one like it, to be honest, and it's very cool to see. I love when people mix colors up for the hair and beards and stuff. I think it's cool.
well, and it's the set during the Civil War, so I couldn't help but play with some of the styles of the time, especially hairstyles, facial hairstyles, things like that.
Mhm. Would you consider yourself a history buff?
Yeah, I think in certain regards, I'm very much interested in alternative ideas of history, fringe kind of concepts of what our history was. Because honestly, there's a lot of things that we have a pretty skewed perspective about, and we learn more and more about that each day. And I think in ways, I thought that there was a really interesting synergy between the traditional Frankenstein story and the themes of that story, with the Civil War and the themes of that conflict and what we understand about the stories that came out of that time period. So to me, I thought, it was a good way of putting traditional characters that you're very familiar with into an environment that is still familiar. But when I originally conceived of the story, it was many years ago. So in my mind, I was, I think the Captain America movie had come out and the Wonder Woman movie had come out, and they were dealing with World War II and World War One. I was like, I don't want to deal with typical expected time periods and settings. So that's where I kind of landed on the Civil War, and like I said, it's really, I thought, been a match made in heaven.
Nice. What made you want to do comic books specifically?
Well, I was a creative director at a marketing company for quite some time, about 5 or 6 years. Right after I got out of college, I went to art and design school here in Detroit, and I went in for the illustration department, and traditional illustration was my thing, but I was a little intimidated by being able to actually make a living doing that. So that's why I sort of pursued doing more design, and I excelled at that. So again, I did that for many years, but honestly, it was very difficult doing work for people who didn't appreciate what I was doing for them, and because largely our clients were focused on their bottom line, and if they weren't making money, it was my fault. So
Oh,
again, it's the world of corporate exchange. So I understand. But anyway, I decided, I wanted to do something for myself. I at the time I could see the writing on the wall. My boss was sort of grooming me to take over the company. I didn't want to do that, so I decided I want to do something that I love. And it just so happened that I was just kind of drawing one day, playing around with just some ideas, and one of my designers came into my office to have a meeting and looked at what I was doing and said, hey, have you ever thought about doing your own comic or like doing a booth at a Comic Con? and honestly, it hit me like a lightning storm. Like I had no idea like that I could just do that. Like I never thought about it. So I got a table. I made a little preview of my first book, and it went really well. So I thought, I could probably do this. And so I've been doing it for 10 years now. And I first started out doing my own stuff, but it's difficult to make a living doing your own self-published work, especially when you're doing it all yourself. So I decided to do just drawing for hire. So work as a full-time comic book artist for other creators who are trying to do the same thing. And so far, it's been really good. I've been doing that for about, I believe, like 3 years now, and that's been really great. I've made some really good connections and relationships, and been able to make some really great books and hone my skills. So yeah, pretty happy.
Ah, I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Nice. Oh, you have a shout out for your shirt, which I just realized is Nirvana.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to represent.
Nice. And Cartoons and Comics says, oh, they won a state contest when they were in high school. It was a wolf on a mountain. That sounds nice.
Nice. Yeah,
You,
I always encourage. I'm an art teacher too, so I actually teach at the college that I went to school at, and I teach college students mainly, but I also do a lot of summer programs for younger kids. And I'm about to start in a couple of weeks. I'm very excited about it. There's just an energy about the young creative mind that really energizes me and just kind of reminds me of why I do this, because it can be hard sometimes to do this day in and day out. Yeah, so it's great.
the youth.
Yeah.
The beautiful youth. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Oh, you're gonna have so much fun. I also helped with kids before, and it's fun. It's fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you also have a question.
Hmm.
Kudos to your clean style. What are some of your influences? It's not easy to make fluid art with hard lines.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say some of my biggest influences are, people like Francis Manipul, Sean Gordon Murphy. Obviously, I just love the way that he puts down line. Ryan Otley's probably at the top of my list as far as people that have studied and how they have approached their work. Because I'm more of I like to approach things more simply. You know, Confederate Monster is actually something that I added a little more lineage to, a little more grit, a little more shadow, just because I felt like it needed it. It was the tone, the mood of the story. But I'm doing another book right now. It's called Dino Knights. It's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they're dinosaurs. And it's
Instant buy.
I'm sorry.
Instant buy.
So
Instantly buy that.
yeah, it's absolutely a really fun book, and again, like what I tried to do with the art style of that book is just make it very 90s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, very very bright and vibrant and saturated, and I don't put a lot of extra detail into it. I just keep it kind of almost cartoony. Again, just trying to emulate the mood of the story. But anyway, those are some of my influences. As far as like drawing like cleanly, one of the things that I really do, I like to practice quick lines. So instead of like holding the line and being very ginger with it as I draw, right, which a lot of artists do, and it works for some. For me, I like to just work really quickly. So I just sort of make a quick line. If I don't like it, I try it again, and I keep doing that until I like it, and then I move on. And honestly, I feel like I can draw faster that way, which it doesn't seem like. It seems like I would make more mistakes, but I feel like the more you do it, the more mistakes you make, the more you know what to not do, and then you do it better the next time. And like I said, I draw pretty quick. I do about 2 to 3 pages a day. So.
Oh my goodness. Nice. I tend to do that style too, more of the faster pace than the ginger style. But that's because I'm at work and I'm bored and I'm like, I gotta do this quickly and make something out of it. Which
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
weird cat morphing Frankenstein thing with diamonds for eyeballs. That's how it turns out usually.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure.
Figure Drawing said that it reminds him of Jason Pearson looking at your art.
All right.
Mm. I am not an artist, so I have no idea who that is.
I'll be honest, I don't either. I'm gonna have to go look up Jason Pearson.
Nice. We both got homework to do.
Yeah, wow.
They love that your gestures are like very refined.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
Again, so I teach design and I also teach figure drawing, and being able to teach something like that, it teaches you so much more about how to do it correctly, because you have to explain it to somebody. So when I have students coming up to me asking, how do I make this look more dynamic? How do I make it look more realistic? I happen to know how to do that, and not only do I have to know how to do it, I have to explain it and demo it. So the more I do that, the more I have to brush up and, like you just said, do my own homework. So yeah, it's a good thing to do. Teaching teaches you a lot.
Awesome. Oh, I'm gonna pause for 1 second here. I'll be right back.
I'll take this moment to take a drink. Oh, well, while we're waiting, I will say that this book is something that I've really been excited to get back to. I honestly just really think that the real meat of the story is just now happening, in issues 4, 5, and 6. That's why I was sort of so upset that I wasn't able to get to 4, 5, and 6 until now. So again, I just really can't wait to get these issues out there. I should also point out that all of the things that we're going to see in the reward gallery, that are part of the different tiers, are also available as add-ons. So, if you just want to get like issue 4 and issue 1, and you only want those 2 issues, you can do that. You can just select, issue 4, whichever cover that you want, either my cover or the cover done by Christian and Simon. Or you can do, or then you can go into the add-ons and select whatever add-on you want. If it's issue 1 or just 1 and 2. Some people ask me about issue 0. Issue 0 is in there, and again, issue 0 is sort of like a quill kind of comic book. It kind of bridges the gap between the original story when they first reanimated the monster and where we're at now. So, like, basically how Igor became Daniel and how Daniel got to America. And it's really intense. It's all done in black and white, mainly because I was trying to get it out faster. And it's just a bloody rampage for the first half of the book. The monster just breaks loose, goes to the village, and just has a bloodlust. Just can't, like I said before, he's absolutely insane, out of his mind. And so he's, just rampaging through the village. There's really cool like splash pages in there that I was really happy to be able to get in there. I always love, as an artist, when you open up that 2-page spread and you get to see like a big piece of art. So I got that in there. But again, it's a really quick, fun little one shot. I wanted to get it in there because I felt like it would be kind of a cool way of bridging, what we know, to this new story, what we're going to be introduced to. So yeah, check out issue 0 for sure. I think, like I said, it's a cool kind of little side story. But yeah, I'm really hopeful that I can get onto issue 5 here pretty soon. I'm basically wrapping up everything on issue 4. I've got a couple more pages that I have to color, but it should definitely be wrapped up by the end of the campaign, which is the end of July. So we got a couple more weeks. But like I said, it's coming along really well. As we probably scroll down, we'll be able to see a couple preview pages. Oh, we got someone at the helm, it looks like. So it's again a very interesting take on the monster. We kind of get a backstory of where he's been for the last 8 years. Kind of wandering around in the forest, trying to find his way. But one of the things that I explained in another interview I did last night was, I wanted to add a little bit more realism or plausibility to the method in which we reanimate a dead body. Because in traditional Frankenstein lore, it's always just been, lightning, right? Just bombard the, heck out of it with lightning and the body will just reanimate. Well, that worked for Mary Shelley's time period up until maybe, I don't know, the 50s or the 60s. And then it just wasn't working anymore, right? Science basically showed us that you need more than that to be able to, imbue life into a body. So, my thought was, why don't we include something else, like a secret ingredient? And that comes into play in issue 2, where Daniel's trying to figure out, how to reanimate a body because he can't really remember the secret formula. And, not to give too much away, but, there's a secret ingredient that we use. And I wanted to, again, tie it back to something that was a little more grounded. So I decided to use DMT, or dimethyltryptamine. So for those of you who aren't familiar, it's like one of the most potent psychedelics known to man. And it's said to be kind of a spirit molecule or a consciousness molecule. So I thought, well, what if we saturated the mind of the monster with this DMT and then shocked it with electricity? And maybe we could open up a channel for consciousness to come into the body. So I thought, hey, that's an interesting take on it. So I used it. And, again, I think it brings a little bit more, realism. It updates the story at the same time as, creating a new take on these characters. Frankenstein hasn't really been explored very much. We have all kinds of vampire movies and stories. We have all kinds of, other, even the Mummy, I think to a certain extent has more lore than Frankenstein. Really, Frankenstein's just the same story told over and over.
The lores of werewolves are always changing.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know. I felt like there was an opportunity here to really play around in this avenue or arena, I should say. And he is public domain now. So, why the hell not?
Oh, it is. I didn't even know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go. Is the secret ingredient Big Mac sauce, by the way?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I could include that somewhere along the line and retrofit that in there somehow. I don't know, maybe.
That's awesome. So we took a look at the pages while you were talking, and we're at the swag now. You can see we got stickers, we got magnets, and we got prints.
Yeah, so that print is done by Christian and Simon, the dynamic duo. They do such a great job together, and I really have admired both of their work for a long time. So I wanted to bring in another artist team to do a print for me and use it as a variant cover. And it was just, again, it turned out really well. So I wanted to really prominently show that off because they did such a good job. And it works so well with my dressing, the title and everything. So yeah, couldn't be happier with it.
Nice. I totally won't try to take that for myself. Oh, and mini portraits too. I was just thinking about Frankenstein's wife if she was going to make a possible appearance.
So I do it a take on the bride. It's not the traditional bride was a companion for the original monster. And in my bride, it's more of a Igor's companion. So I wanted to, again, kind of bring in the familiar characters, the familiar tone of some of these characters, but then play around with it a little bit, see what else I could do with it that made more sense for the story and the character. And I thought my update really worked and, made more sense. She's now not just a companion in the story. She transforms into something a little greater. So
nice. Oh, and the commissions are done by you.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, when I work with other creators, sometimes I'll offer to them when they do Kickstarters to do commissions for the campaign. I don't do it a lot because I don't have a ton of time, but since this is my campaign and I'm more than happy to do it, I threw some commissions on there. So there is a tier where you can get a commission and a copy of the book. And I'm just doing little, mini head portraits, any character that you want. Yeah.
Can it be original characters too?
Oh yeah, it could be original characters. It could just be a self-portrait. It could be a portrait of your dog or your cat or your pet snake or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I'll draw whatever. But typically, I just try to keep it to a headshot, just so that I'm not, having to draw a ton of extra things like hands and poses and things like that.
Of course. You hear that, Snowflake? She's sleeping right now. It's okay. She's my dog.
I hear you.
And then for those of you who are new to the work, they've included some of the past books and digital editions for you to add to your package. Did you talk about that yet?
No. So like I said, I've been working for other creators for the last couple of years, and so I've had a couple of different issue ones that I've been able to create for people. And so I asked a couple of them if they would be willing to offer up a few digital editions of their issue one. And so I was able to get two from one from my good friend, Morgan Quaid, who's in Australia. He and I did this series called Bloodsmith. It's like a Victorian, set horror story with like this guy who has the ability to sort of like psychically or supernaturally control his own blood and kind of turn them into weapons. It's very, very interesting. And there's like a witch with a puppet that she talks through, and a gunslinger guy who's very tech wise and everything. It's a very fun book. We haven't quite wrapped it up yet. We've done issues 1 and 2. So issue 1 is there and available as an add-on. And then the one that I've got there is an issue 1 of Vampire Detective in Space, which is a series I did with Caleb Palmquist, who's done Unicorn Vampire Hunter. He's now got a series with his wife, what can I think of it? Dragon Grid. And so Caleb and I have been working for a couple of years together, and we did this series. It's a 4-issue series. It's basically the last vampire in the universe who's basically living on a space station, being a detective. And it's a very interesting sci-fi story with a little bit of a horror bent. And I just had a ton of fun drawing that book. There's just so much cool visual things to dive into. And then the last thing there is a digital trade collection of one of my past books that I wrote and colored. And I had a really good friend of mine, Joseph Cooper, illustrate for me. It's called Feast or Famine. It's a world where Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein partner together and they go on a space adventure. So it's like an alternate version of the world if these two, brilliant men were given all the resources in the world to kind of create the future, at that era, the beginning of the century. So it's very retro sci-fi. It's got a lot of historical things. Obviously, I kind of like historical, inspirations. So I really wanted to, tackle Tesla. That was something I really wanted to do for a long time. So that was sort of my ode to his genius and all that was lost with all that.
Nice. You have no idea how many times I wanted to back Unicorn Hunter only to have no money when the campaign is about to end. And I'm like, dang it, another time. I'll definitely get it.
I feel you. That's a great book.
It's a unicorn stabbing a freaking vampire. It looks so cool. And it's like, I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, Caleb and I actually, we did a crossover one shot with the character from our book, Vampire Detective in Space, and the main character, the unicorn character from that book. And we just did a crossover on Kickstarter earlier this year. Did really well. I believe we're probably going to do maybe another one. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
Ooh, a lot of these crossovers are pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. A fun. I love it. It's it's a interesting way to just sort of expand these indie universes.
And you have a lot of people praising this stuff right now.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hi, Hominus. Sorry, I forgot to say hi to you. Welcome, Hominus. He calls himself vampire, so of course he's interested. All
Absolutely.
right. Oh, and we got some stretch goals. Nice, nice.
Yeah, just a couple. If we get there, I've got these really cool pins that I got a couple left over from the last campaign, and so I figured we'll see how it goes with those. And then I've got a art print of my own that I did. That was the original cover of the book, and then I like put the dressing on it, and I absolutely hated it. So I just thought it was too busy. It looked way too busy. And then when I took the title off of it, I looked at it again and I just thought, oh, this is a poster. This isn't a cover. So I decided I'll throw that in as a stretch goal. And then that last one there, if by whatever comic book magic, we get to 8,000. I really kind of am excited about the concept of doing like an old tiny like radio show style version of the issue. As you can see in the video that we watched earlier, I'm really jazzed up about doing like voiceovers and stuff for these characters. I honestly, when I write, that's kind of what I do when I'm doing the dialogue is I have little voices for each character and I'll speak out the dialogue just to make sure that it sounds to me like it makes sense, like the character would actually say it like that.
Nice.
So yeah, I would really love to be able to do that.
Oh, hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah.
I want to believe in it. Oh, and then we have who are the characters? Woo!
Yeah, I just wanted to update people just to make sure, especially for Igor, because we talk about him as Daniel the whole time, so I wanted to make sure people really understood that he is Igor, really. And he doesn't really look like Igor in our traditional culture or, the way that the myth is portrayed of that character. He's more of a hideous sort of hunchback. But I wanted to, update that a bit. And, I wanted Igor to be more of a protege to Victor, more of a true, almost like a son type character, like Victor was his surrogate father, because that was something that really does play into the story quite a lot. This story of the relationships between fathers and sons. So I thought that was an interesting way of again updating the character and just sort of taking certain elements of the character and changing it in a way that serves the story better. And you'll see he's got kind of a couple little scars on his face. And in that way, I kind of wanted to, just still show that he is a little deformed, but he's not so deformed that he couldn't pass as some, rich, doctor, in Confederate Virginia.
Just say it was like scars from surgery.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, he's like he's supposed to be like a reconstructive surgeon, so I felt that all made sense.
Makes sense. Oh, then we got Dr. Victor Frankenstein.
Yeah, he is absolutely out of his mind when we first meet him. It's been 8 years of being locked inside of an asylum. So when we first meet him, he's basically just like biting the heads off of rats. Just totally gibberish coming out of his mouth. He speaks in like limericks and these weird rhymes and things. But I did have a lot of fun writing the dialogue for that, character in the sense that everything that he says actually makes sense if you really read it. It really makes no sense when you first read it, but then when you really read into it, it's like, oh, okay, it does kind of make sense. So that was kind of fun to play around with. But yeah, he's just not entirely the same Victor Frankenstein that we remember.
Is this him eating the rat right now?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I love it. Then we have the monster.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I say whenever I was pitching this book to people is, it's basically Cowboy Frankenstein in the Civil War. As soon as I said Cowboy Frankenstein, they were just like, what? That's pretty cool. I've never heard of that. So, again, I wanted to really lean into that with his look. So, he's always kind of, when we see him, in issue 4, he's, sporting that really long brimmed hat. He's got a big, trench coat that he's wearing with this like handkerchief thing. So again, he's very mysterious and shadowy and, very, very much, a stoic character. He's a man of very few words. But the thing I do like about him is, believe it or not, I have used him as the comedic relief in the story. It makes absolutely no sense until you read the book, and then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's funny. So, I've had some fun writing his dialogue.
I'm gonna have fun reading that because so I decided to like look through any social media links that you had, and I found a lot. If anybody wants to contact Dave or check out his stuff, he has a YouTube, he has I believe a Twitter, Instagram, website as well. And on the website, there is a free 13-page free preview of Confederate Monster, which I've had it saved on my computer for the past few days because I was like, I'm gonna read it if I really want to. So every time I turn up my browser, it pops up.
Right on. Yeah, the first issue is actually a double issue. So I believe it's close to 40 pages, if not 40 on the nose. Whenever I write stories, I like to do a big first issue and then a big last issue with some shorter issues in between. So instead of each issue being like 24 to 28 pages, the issues in between are usually a tight 20 pages. But then the first issue and the last issue, like I said, are like around 40. So in that way, it's really like almost like 10 issues. But again, I wanted the first and the last issues to be really meaty. Like you get a chance to really get invested in the story, get invested in the characters in the first issue. But then in the last issue, you get a chance to have all that's being built up, pay off with a long, ending that feels like it's not just over and done with and kind of lackluster. So
True. Reese says, I've always thought of Frankenstein's monster's name as Bob. Why? Why Bob? Out of all the names, why Bob?
I would even probably go with Robert. Robert.
Oh, we do have the bride.
Yes, there she is. Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Like, I had a feeling that was possibly the bride, but I didn't want to assume, and now my assumption was correct. Yay!
Yeah. So I wanted to sort of play around with this character a little bit more, create a new bend on the origin of the bride, and the role in which the character plays in the story and for our main character. Because obviously, I think that the main character of Igor is largely just screaming out for love and affection, and he just can never find it. And he is his entire life believing that he's getting it from Victor, but Victor's really just using him and grooming him, essentially. And so, I thought that it's important to not only show that, Igor has found some true, love and affection in his life finally, but I wanted to also, again, transform, that relationship a bit, so that they go through a lot together, but then they wind up on the other side even stronger. So it's a bit of a, again, a different take on the bride. It's not really connected much to the traditional monster. It's more connected to Igor. But again, that's the fun part about telling a different story, right? You get to actually have some creative license with it instead of being locked into, the original way that it was told.
Nice. Is her hair the shaven look, or is that how she naturally looks?
No, I wanted, so, she goes through a lot, right? So,
Oh,
so she wanted, or they needed to shave her bald in order to do what they did to her. And she basically keeps the look, So I thought it was, again, a different kind of take. There is actually a little bit of a nod to the original, big, bride, electrified hair. In the first issue, there's a masquerade ball.
Ooh.
The bride, who is, Igor's wife, she's dressed up like the bride. So she has the wig and everything. So it's like a fun, cool way of, introducing those familiar, iconic elements of the story. But again, in a new way.
Of course. This is very, very hype. And what about shipping?
Yep. So we're doing shipping through BackerKit. I'm doing my best this time to update some of the things that I'm doing to make sure that I can get the most accurate shipping prices for everybody, and make sure that I can handle it in the best way too, and efficiently, so I can get things out as fast as possible. So yeah.
Mhm. So, so you're saying that when we purchase the book, the shipping will not be charged then, but charged after,
Correct.
later?
Correct.
Ah, okay, okay. Awesome. I'm actually glad that I'm learning about this before, because there was another campaign that decided to tell people, like, I think a couple months after,
Mm.
and they're like, "Oh, by the way, there's a due date," and I accidentally purchased it after the due date, and I'm like, "Oh, I spent all that money and I'm not getting that comic book."
Oh, that's too.
That was very expensive too, and I wanted it. Punks. Uh, and now we got a campaign spotlight.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm a pencil for hire, so I work on all kinds of other books in the indie comic book scene, and I'm pretty fortunate that right now I've got two other books that I've worked on that also have campaigns running. So the first one there is the second issue of a series called "Don't Talk to the Dead." It's really fun. It's sort of like the a Goonies type tale with like a group of teenagers who have traveled into the depths of hell in order to get back the soul of one of their friends that was ripped out of him from a Ouija board incident gone wrong.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, so it's again very fun. Lots of cool visuals in this issue. We get to go into hell in the second issue. So again, tons of splash pages, tons of 2-page spreads. So again, that one was really fun to work on. I color that book, so I'm not illustrating it; I'm just coloring it. But again, I really love that one, so you should really definitely check that out if you're really into the horror genre, especially like 80s Goonies type stuff.
Oh, I still have to see the Goonies. Oh, but I know Bad Bug. I've seen them a lot on Twitter. A lot of mutuals like to retweet their stuff, so that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and then this is another Bad book, Under City Tales 2, again an issue 2. So this is a standalone story. Each one of these Under City Tales issues is a standalone story, but they're all set in the same city that's set
Ooh.
under the ground, under Earth, and it's populated by these thousands of alien races. So it's kind of like a 50s noir type story. It's kind of got, like you can see from the style of the vehicles there, kind of that 50s gangster kind of a feel to it. But it's a love story, this one, but very action packed, very cool, lots of cool visuals. And again, I did all the artwork for this one though, so I did all the coloring, all the drawing, all the inking, and again, loved working on this one. Lots of interesting things for me to challenge myself to have to draw. It was a challenge having to draw those car chases, but
Ooh,
I did it.
you work very hard.
Yeah, it's tough. Perspective is tough.
Ah, but you do such good work.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. Risk and challenges. Have you ever had a failing campaign before?
I don't believe I've had a failing one. Well, I had a book that Caleb and I tried once, but we took it down because we felt like it just wasn't the right time. But we're going to revisit that one because we think that we need to retool the story a little bit. But we haven't had one fail. So that's good. I again, I know that this one got off to a bit of a slow start. Like I said, the last couple of issues that I did for Confederate Monster were done about 3 years ago. So it's been quite a long time, and so I'm again, I'm really hopeful that we can bring that audience back and we can discover some new backers out there that want to dive into this world and find out more about Confederate Monster.
Nice. And I hope so too, because this is pretty amazeballs, to be honest.
Thank you, thank you. Like I said, when you were gone, I'm really excited to get into the second half of the story because issues 4, 5, and 6 really ramp things up. And when we get into issue 5, is when things start to really take a twist and start to change, and secrets are revealed, and all the juicy, meaty things that you want from a story emerge. So again, I'm very hopeful to be able to get through this series, within the next year. Like I said, I think issue 5 shouldn't take me as long as issue 4 did, but issue 6 might take me a little while, just because, like I said, it's a little longer. It's like almost 40 pages, but it's going to be, it's a good one. It is a good one.
I mean, I wouldn't even mind if you even took your time because, like, you're doing so much, and I'm worried about your health and everything.
Yeah, I do take care of myself. I'm a big proponent of stretching and making sure I take breaks. As a teacher, I have to be a good advocate of that for my students. I do meditation sessions with all of my classes. So before every class I teach, we do like a 10-minute meditation. Just to help the kids to deal with their anxiety and deal with anything that might be hindering their creativity. Because I noticed that even in my own practice, it can be very intimidating sitting down to do a drawing, and anxiety inducing. So I think the more you can train yourself to breathe correctly, and to calm your nervous system, you're going to be able to get a better result out of your creativity.
Ah, that's so nice. Oh, you're such a good teacher.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, and we also have Random Dude Draws comment. Since the book is also known under the modern Prometheus, his name might as well be Prometheus.
True. That's actually a bad moniker for the monster, to be honest with you. In researching the book, I believe I could be wrong, but I believe I absorbed nearly every piece of Frankenstein lore that I could. So I watched as many movies that I could that were featuring the character. I read as many books as I could, and just trying to understand what has already been done, and not only to understand what I want to do differently, but then also how to pay homage to some of the things that I find to be interesting tent poles of not only some of the characters but the ways in which the story's been told. Like one of the things that I really love is the movie Young Frankenstein. You ever seen Young Frankenstein?
I love Young Frankenstein.
Hilarious original take on the character. And so I wanted to kind of take some of that and put it into the story as well. Even though it's a satire and it's kind of wild and weird, like one of the characters at the end of issue 3, he's like a Confederate scientist. I drew him inspired off of the design of the constable in Young Frankenstein, the guy with the fake limb. So I wanted to again not only make the story a new take on the character, but then for those who are familiar with a lot of these movies and television shows that Frankenstein has been involved with, that we all have absorbed. You can see those little Easter eggs throughout the story and go, oh, I see why he did that, kind of thing. Just to make it fun, a fun ride for everybody.
Nice. All right, before we go, let's take a look at the tiers if that's all right with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Woot. Scroll down because my mouse is messed up. All right, we have issue 4, digital edition for $6. Nice.
Yep.
And then we have issue 4, cover A, standard edition, which I believe is yours, for $12.
Correct. Yeah, that's my cover there. Yeah.
And then we have the cover B, standard edition by Christian Debari, also for $12.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're the only one I've seen so far where the standard covers, like standard variant cover, is the same price as the original cover.
Oh yeah. No, I know that obviously the margins are very thin on everything that we're doing in indie comics. But I don't want to gouge people too badly. And I thought, why not?
Nice. Right, and we have something called a featured bundle. This bundle has a little bit of everything: a physical and digital of the Confederate Monster issue 4, a 6x9 print of the Christian Debari and Simon Go variant cover, and a 5x3 die cut vinyl sticker, and a 2x3 magnet. Hopefully, I said all those measurement right, because I don't usually do.
No, you got it all right.
Yes! And all of those are $35.
Yeah,
Awesomeness.
that's sort of my go-to bundle. I think when I talk to people about the campaign, mainly just because it's like I said, a little bit of everything. You get a copy of the book, you get a little bit of swag, I think for each one of these campaigns, I would like to do a different sticker design, a different magnet design, and in a different print done by a different creative team. So in that way, it's in a way a collectible bundle.
Nice. And then we have a Confederate Monster digital catch up tier. New to the series, get caught up with the digital PDFs of all the Confederate Monster issues so far, including a 20-page prequel comic that tells us the story about how Igor got to America for $40. I
Yeah.
almost said it in Spanish, but then I realized nobody would understand what I'm saying if I said $40, except the dollars
my
part.
my wife might understand what you're saying. She's Mexican.
Yeah, let's
But
go.
yeah, so the digital catch up for Confederate Monster, I just wanted to make sure that if you guys are familiar with the series and you would like to just get all the issues, that would be a quick and easy way to do it. But like I said before, while you're away, if you want to just kind of pick and choose and build your own little bundle, you can feel free to do that with the add-ons. I've got everything in the add-ons. So if you want to just get a copy of issue 4 and a copy of issue 1, you can do that.
Nice. Boop, 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 boop. And if you want the physical version of that digital catch up, then it is $70, including the prequel, but this also includes the digital PDFs too, guys.
Right. And again, the first issue is a double issue. So, it's really more like 6 comics rather than 5 comics. And I wanted to, again, make sure that, I was able to get all of the different books together in one big bundle, in case you want to just, binge the whole series and get caught up so that when issue 5 comes around, you're ready to go.
Awesome. I totally forgot. I do have one Spanish speaker today in my comments section. Usually there's a few, but cartoons and comics. That's right. He did leave for today, I believe. But that's another one. And then we have the Dave Swartz digital library.
Yes. So I wanted to just, again, for those who are completely unfamiliar with me at all, and you really want to dive into some of my past work as well as Confederate Monster, you can purchase this, which is a whole library of my work. It's not everything that I've done because I think that library might be too expensive. But I wanted to, again, put a copy of my own collection of Feast or Famine. So that's a 100-page comic all by itself. It's 3 issues. I think each one of those issues is about 32 to 34 pages. I can't remember exactly now. But again, I wanted to, include a copy of issue 1 of Vampire Detective in Space and a copy of Bloodsmith issue 1 as well. Just in case anybody just saw my work for the first time and was like, okay, I need more. So there you go.
I feel like I may want to need more, but on a budget. I'll get them one by one.
I hear you.
It'll happen slowly. And then for the same price, you get issue number 4 and a mini commission. But it's a 5 to 7 mini. Awesome.
Yeah. Again, if you want a commission and you want a copy of the book, that's a good way to do it. But like I said, everything is on the add-ons. So if you want another bundle, but you also want a commission or something, you can, add and collect whatever you want before you check out.
Nice. Boop, 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 boop. And then was this? Oh,
yeah,
that was just.
The early bird's done. That was just for day 1. So.
Dang it! I always miss the early birds.
Yeah, it was only for day 1. It's really just a reduction in price. I didn't do anything super special for that one, but yeah.
Ooh. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, there we go. And that was Confederate Monster issues 1 through 4. Before we leave, is it possible to do just one more summary before we go?
Sure, absolutely. So Confederate Monster in a pitch is Cowboy Frankenstein meets the Civil War. So we follow the main characters of the original Frankenstein story into the future 8 years. The main character is Igor, but he's posing as Dr. Daniel Schmidt living in Confederate Virginia at the end of the Civil War. The Confederates are losing the war, and so they decide to seek elsewhere to try to figure out how they're going to win this thing. And they discover this tale about a man from Germany who reanimated a dead body. So they, track Igor down, they figure out who he is, and they force him to reanimate their dead army. So again, we explore a completely different story, a completely different take on the Frankenstein myth. And, we get to visit all these new classic characters, but in a totally different way. So Confederate Monster, again, is just a lot of horror fun with a little bit of a historical bent, but I can't emphasize enough, a totally new take on Frankenstein.
Awesomeness. And I see them. I see the amount went up a little bit. We are now at 727, 24% of gold. Yay!
Every little bit counts.
Right. This was great. A lot of comics in in an hour. I was thinking HR. I'm like, who's HR? Well done, you two. Thank you so much. And we're gonna end it here for tonight. It is in the description. I put all his socials on there, including the website if you want to see the 13-page preview of issue 1, I believe. And if you have any questions, you can contact him or me. Let us know if you're interested in buying it. It's in the description and it's in the live chat pinned. And have a nice day, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.